Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We wrap up another great week of Sports Talk with you on this Friday night from our beautiful Learfield Studios, Main Street, downtown Columbia. Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes, K-Mac, Kevin McCrary, and State Man Graham Pope, all together with you once again. 800-956-7266. It is what I like to call Open Mind Friday, which means we've got nothing really lined up for you. Monty Dutton will be here in the next hour, our full Monty on NASCAR as we go racing at Sonoma, California this weekend. Monty will be here to talk a little NASCAR with us. Outside of that, open mind. That means open your minds and let's hear what you've been stashing away up there for this entire week or weeks or months or whatever the case may be. 800-956-7266 is how you can reach us. We will have our Braves report tonight, I think, with Mike Morgan. You know, on Fridays, sometimes Mike is hard to catch up to. But if he is available, he'll join us as well. We'll talk about the Braves going into Pittsburgh after a horrible stay in D.C. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com, on Twitter @sportstalksc. The website, make sure you check it out, and thousands of you have, and we thank you for that. Check it out very, very frequently, and that is, of course, @SportsTalkSC and on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. So there you go. You can follow along with us here on Sports Talk. We have our audio feed at sportstalksc.com and, of course, the video feed at the bottom of the page where you can watch us in HD living color, and you can see how K-Mac, he puts on makeup every afternoon because he thinks he's on television, and he's just trying to look pretty.
No, I do that whether I think
regularly you put on the
not,
makeup.
right?
Yeah. So I didn't get a chance to participate in some of the conversation last night about the latest issue at Clemson, and I want to jump into that here in a little bit.
I used your battle flag line. It went over.
Did you really?
Awful.
Did it go over well?
Nobody liked it. No, I tried it.
You know, some people just don't have a sense of humor.
They said if you hear a joke from Kornbluth, you flush it immediately. You don't repeat it.
Is that right?
That's what I was told.
Wow. Anyway, I like that line.
I tried.
Clemson has to, what was it? Take down its battle flag? Yeah.
Lower the battle flag.
Lower the battle flag. Good news for Clemson is, as far as we know, nobody's been arrested today. Hi-oh. We used to say that about Tennessee and Georgia. But Clemson's the one been catching
and Florida.
And Florida, yeah. Clemson's been catching the jokes the last couple of weeks with everything that's been going on. Gamecocks went through their period of time as well.
Everybody does.
A board member from Florida spoke up or whatever.
Yeah. All right, 800-956-7266. We got a few notes that we'll share with you. We'll kick around the NBA draft from last night a little bit as well, and look forward to hearing from you on this edition of Sports Talk on a Friday night from Columbia. Be right back. Also, it being Open Mind Friday, we're going to open up the express lane, and we will interrupt whatever we're doing to take your phone calls here on this Friday night. 800-956-7266, for example. I could be interviewing Paul McCartney right now.
Heard that was a great show last night.
It was. I'm just going to say this very quickly. It was fabulous. Fabulous. It's actually the 5th concert I've been to. I forgot that I went to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra performance here.
Oh, that doesn't really count.
No, that counts as it was music, it was singing, it was a light show. But anyway, Paul McCartney was absolutely fantastic. I would say it's as good as any sporting event I think I've ever been to. He really brought back the Beatles songs. If you closed your eyes, you would have thought you were listening to the Beatles. That's how good the guys in his band were. He played some of his new stuff too. Place was packed. Governor Haley was there, 2 boxes down from me. She was having a big time. I don't think she saw me.
Oh, yeah. She didn't say hello to you.
I winked at her once, but she didn't respond.
Big fan of the show. So, sure, her husband appreciated that.
Yeah. Anyway, had a great time. And I'm sure that people listening to us, many of you went as well. It's a great crowd. Had to be 17,000, 18,000 there. He really related to the crowd well. And I'll say this, there was no warm-up band or anything. He came out at 8:15. He started playing, an opening act. Whatever, State Man. Go follow Fish or something, all right? Leave me alone. Okay, I'm following a real rock star, okay? There was a guy there. It was his 84th Paul McCartney concert, he said.
He must not have a life.
Anyway, he came out 8:15. He went for 3 hours nonstop, and crowd loved it. Anyways, great time at the Colonial Life Arena. 800-956-7260. What's the last concert you went to, K-Mac?
Last concert. Well, I told you I saw the Wailers in Charleston last week.
Oh, that's
when I was there.
That's big.
At the Windjammer.
Yeah.
Well, they're not Paul McCartney big. This is a guy. This guy's been to 4 concerts now. He's some kind of snob.
I've been to 5.
Oh, 5 now with Sir Paul, and I've seen Paul McCartney in concert. So we've seen him as many times. And
where'd you see him?
Williams-Brice Stadium.
Oh, you went to that one?
1992.
You were like 12.
I was very young. I was a young whippersnapper, but still old enough to appreciate the Beatles.
Yeah,
sir.
Yeah. I kind of feel like, I was thinking about this, I kind of feel like, in my humble opinion, that Sports Talk is the Beatles of Sports Talk radio.
Okay.
No, seriously, think about it. We've been around going on 32 years, so a lot of people have grown up with us. I kind of feel like I take the spot of
this guy. Really, he's like the Kanye West of sports talk show host.
I kind of feel like Paul McCartney, as the leader, and
the guy who's not dead.
I think the State Man is sort of like Ringo. I look at pros sort of like John Lennon.
I'm going to be Yoko and break this thing up.
You're like George Harrison.
I'm going to break this thing up.
All right, 800-956-7266. He did do a nice tribute to Charleston.
I saw that.
Yeah,
online.
And he played the Long and Winding Road. Quite emotional. Yes.
Did you cry?
I did not. People around me did, but I held it together.
Speaking of there's a lot of emotion today.
Absolutely.
Did you catch any of the funeral services?
I listened to the president's speech or his eulogy.
But made me think of it because you talk about singing. When he started singing at the end, I don't think I've never seen a president do that before. That was something else.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Just part of an unbelievable 2 weeks here in South Carolina. Unfortunately, it had to come to all this to make it an incredible 2 weeks.
Yeah. But the way this state responded and came together, and from Chris Singleton on, the Charleston Southern baseball player, that the night after, and I went back and watched that again today, actually, and just the courage that he had to go out there and speak, and the families, everybody came together. And for that guy sitting in a jail cell down in Charleston right now, it must be a pretty bad spot to be, to look at what he did and how it completely backfired. What he wanted to happen, the exact opposite happened. So I'm very proud of my state tonight.
There's much to feel from all the sadness and heartache. There's much to feel good about as a result of this. It's just a shame that it took this act to get us to this point. All right, that's enough of that. It's like I said, it's express lanes, which means we stop yakking and jump into your phone calls on an Open Mind Friday. Billy in Waxhaw, North Carolina, which there's some football players coming out of Waxhaw, I think. Billy, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing great. Trying to cool down from the hot day. How are you fellas?
Yeah, we're doing the same thing.
Good. I used to listen to your show all the time, but now I travel a lot, so it's the first time I get to listen to you in a while. Just wanted to call and get your guys' insights on what you think Tennessee football is going to be like this year. Are they going to be back to the top tier of the SEC, or going to be another building year, or what?
Well, they're my pick right now to win the East.
So they're not going to win the East.
So that's an observation that they are on their way back. I think they've made a lot of progress. I like their
Josh
quarterback.
Dobbs.
I like the weapons he has around them. They've recruited extremely well the last 2-3 years, really stockpiled some nice talent. The East does not look foreboding around them. It looks like one of those years like when South Carolina won the East a few years ago. The rest of the division wasn't all that great. Right now, I'd say after Tennessee, it's hard to say. Georgia could rise up if they get decent quarterback play with their offensive line back and Nick Chubb back and some of their other weapons. They could be formidable. But really, it's a division I think is there for Tennessee to take.
It's wide open. I think I will give you this caveat though. Tennessee must learn to stop the run, or they're not going to win any division. Because they've had to. This last year, Dobbs' heroics near the end, they pulled out some games where they just outscored people. But when Tennessee was going great guns, they always gave you a great front four, and I don't think they're there yet.
Well, you look at their offensive line; it's starting to take a look like Tennessee offensive lines of past. You got a bunch of juniors who've played some. They got big size across the line. Matt Crowder's a heck of a center, and then I think that Dobbs does what they need from a quarterback in that offense, maybe even more so than Worley did in the past. And of course, you got to like the wide receivers. They got really good talent at wide receiver. Hurd is back to lead the running game. Yeah, they got a lot of good players in this program. They're my pick to win the division.
Which means Missouri may win it again.
I don't appreciate the attack from both sides here about my intellect when it comes to selecting.
It's not your intellect so much as it is your track record.
It wasn't an attack. I was just trying to, giving you a backslap to agree with you that is wide open. Anybody can win this division. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida didn't come out of nowhere and win the division.
Gentlemen, real quick on the Charleston deal, I want to send my condolences to the families down there.
Still with us?
Are you there?
Yeah, we're with you. Go ahead.
Send my condolences to the families in Charleston and all the surrounding communities, and tell everybody in South Carolina that I'm proud to have South Carolina as a neighbor, and I wish that people in Baltimore and Ferguson would take pictures and notes and handle situations like this in the future and hold their heads up. And thank you, guys.
All right, so thank you very much for your phone call. We appreciate it. From across the border, let's continue on the phone lines here. Bob in West Columbia, tuned in to The Point, 95.9 FM. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Right. You would always say Immokalee. It's Immokalee. Phil, it's Casey, Crazy Body from Casey, formerly from Miami.
Okay.
Did you get to see the emails I sent you today?
How could I miss them?
Did you see what the nut job did from Florida State? No wonder Sir Jimbo Fisher separated. Where did he find these clowns from?
What did he do?
He was standing in line at a bar to get a drink. He punched out a woman in a bar.
You're talking about the quarterback.
Mr. Florida football. You're the freshman QB. His name is
Johnson.
He was supposed to be the future. Wasn't Golson supposed to be the bridge to this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Hang on a second, Bob. We got to hit a break here, and we'll come back to you. Open Mind Friday, 800-956-7266. What's on your mind? Back in a moment. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Friday, Open Mind Friday. Bob dropped, so lines are open. 800-956-7266 is how you can get through quickly. The express lane is open on the phone lines as well, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. The Golden Nugget is the first of the bookmakers in Vegas to come out with odds on the big games for this coming season, and also the big games on the USC and Clemson schedules. And Clemson is favored in all of their major games, according to this particular odds maker. 3-point favorites at Louisville, 3.5 at home to Notre Dame, 3-point favorite at home to Georgia Tech, 4.5-point favorite at Miami, 2-point favorite at home to Florida State, and against South Carolina, the Tigers are a what was that, K-Mac? I can't find it here real quick. Did you catch the Gamecock Tiger game?
4-point 3-point favorite for Clemson.
3-point favorite for Clemson. So they're favored in all their big games. Of course, this does not include Wofford, App State, Boston College, Wake Forest, Syracuse, and NC State. I don't know why those games were left out.
Yeah, they'll be favored in all those games, though.
Yeah. Now, South Carolina, according to this odds maker, the Gamecocks, they're not favored in hardly anything. 11-point underdog to Georgia, 11-point underdog to Missouri, 8-point underdog to LSU, 10-point underdog to Texas A&M. They're only favored against Florida at home by 2.5. They do not list North Carolina, Kentucky, Central Florida, Vandy, the Citadel, and Tennessee at this point. So that's good. I think South Carolina, you're right where you want to be in terms of the national perception right now. Let everybody think you're not going to be very good. Lay low, and then you beat North Carolina, but nobody's going to be really surprised about that. That'll be kind of should have. It's Georgia going to Athens that you look at, and that's where you've got to be really, really good, and that's where you can kind of open up some eyes if you're good enough to do it. I think defensively they'll be good enough. I don't know about offensively yet, and that's the thing about South Carolina. It's hard to handicap them without knowing what kind of quarterback play they're going to get.
Well, here's the interesting thing, though. I kind of think the opposite of a lot of people. When I saw Clemson's defense last year and saw who they had returning, I said, these guys are going to be good. But a lot of people say, well, Clemson, we don't know about their quarterback. He's supposed to be good, but but if you got a quarterback and your defense is 10 cent, everybody look, hey, they got the quarterback. They're going to be favored. So can't do that. You got to look at the defense too.
You can't. I mean, you're right. But there's no way you can expect South Carolina's defense to come anywhere close to where Clemson's defense was last year.
I'm just talking about what people judge things on. They look at the quarterback and they say they're going to have a good team.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what they're doing with Clemson right now, and I'm amongst them thinking that with Deshaun Watson, that's a bonus. We are back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us as you are heading home and into the weekend, or maybe you're already at home on the back porch. Maybe you're walking the back nine somewhere, hanging out by the lake, maybe at the beach. Remember, for those of you around the states heading to the beach this weekend, maybe for your vacation or just a weekend getaway, if you're there during the week, of course, you can catch us on our beach affiliate, 100.3 FM WSEA. So you can always find Sports Talk when you go to the Grand Strand. And, of course, you can get us on your smartphone with our audio feed, or our video feed also works on your smartphone. And, of course, you can catch us on iHeartRadio, our Myrtle Beach affiliate, and our Greenville affiliate on iHeartRadio. And the TuneIn app has several of our Sports Talk affiliates here in South Carolina available there. So there's all kind of ways to follow us here on Sports Talk when you are away from your normal listening apparatus, also known as your radio. 800-956-7266, Open Mind Friday here on this Friday, and the express lanes are open. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter @sportstalksc. Got a few notes to get to on this Friday afternoon, so let me pass those along. We talked about those football odds. Clemson is set to name their new pitching coach on Monday. Monty Lee is going to hire the pitching coach from Duke, Andrew C., reported first by the ClemsonInsider.com. And they write, it's believed that C got this job based on the fact he already knows a lot of hitters and teams, their approaches in the ACC. He also has established relationships and connections in the ACC that will help him in the scouting duties. Duke's pitching staff in 2014 had an ERA of 3.14, the lowest for the program since 1971. So he's done a nice job there. Though the Duke baseball team has not been all that relevant, apparently he's done a nice job with their pitching staff. And so he will be coming on, according to the Clemson Insider, to be the pitching coach for Monty Lee. That'll be made official on Monday. How about this little comment? I ran across this story following some recruiting stuff. A recruit, Chaz Surratt, he is from Denver, North Carolina. He's a quarterback and a basketball player. He had been committed to Duke for football. North Carolina recruited him for football strongly, and then Roy Williams told him he could walk on the basketball team. So he switched his commitment from Duke to North Carolina. That's not the big story here. He was quoted in a story by TarHeelIllustrated.com as saying the following about he's excited to go to North Carolina, have a chance to play both sports. He informed Larry Fedora this morning that he was going to go to North Carolina. He also notified Duke. And he said that three things were important in changing his mind. North Carolina never stopped recruiting him. After the notice of allegations by the NCAA arrived, he was told by the staff that football would face no penalties. And his conversation with Roy Williams on Thursday evening, he said that Williams apparently told him that their attorneys are 100% sure nothing will happen. So, again, he's been told, and this is what North Carolina must be telling their recruits, that the football team is going to face no penalties, and the basketball coach saying that their attorneys are 100% sure nothing will happen. Okay, so all this hullabaloo about fake classes and fake grades and made-up diplomas at North Carolina is going to result in what? The women's basketball team being put on 5 years probation? Is that where it all centered around, the women's basketball team, apparently?
Well, when the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools puts you on probation, and in large measure, not all, but in mentioning that was a big factor was the academic scandal. I don't see how an attorney can turn around and just assure somebody.
I know it's recruiting, and they'll say anything to get a guy.
Yeah, then they get there. Sorry.
We
Probation.
Were told. Our attorney said nothing was going to happen.
We will not be going to a bowl game your entire career.
All right, 800-956-7266. Open Mind Friday, but we welcome in the most closed mind of any caller that we have. We welcome in the de facto mayor of the city of Charleston, the bad boy by the bay, the ninja of the night, the pontiff of the port city, the queen of the cowboy crybabies, and Jerome. Upon further review, it's still not a catch. It's not Jim Rome. He's doing a lousy TV show on Showtime. You ever seen that, K-Mac? It's a lousy TV show. No, that's Jim Rome. This is J. Rome.
You sure you want to go there?
You're not a clone.
Are you sure you want to go there for a corn blue?
Go where?
All right.
Catch? No catch? No catch. It was no catch.
You want to go there? I was doing some research, Phil, about the schedule of a certain team. September 20th, 8:30 p.m., Sunday Night Football, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and guess who it is? The Seattle Sea Chickens at the Green Bay Packers. Woo, Billy!
I'm excited. I am excited. I can't wait. I'm counting down the hours. It's going to be a great Sunday night. Looking forward to it.
0-2 in the last two matchups, and we all remember what those ended like,
Well, you know, we got ripped off. Well, no, they beat us soundly there the last time we went to Seattle in the regular season. Now, we handed it to them in the playoffs last year. Come on, Jerome. That was our game. We handed it to them. We made some bad mistakes. We will get our due justice this time around.
As Phil Caldwell and Kevin and Tom can testify, man up, Jerome. Quit being a crybaby.
That's right.
Man up, Phil Kornbluth. 0-2. Next time, we got – hey, this could be a defining game for the psyche of the Green Bay Packers.
It's early in the season. You know, you recall last year we got off to kind of a sluggish start. And what did Aaron Rodgers and yours truly say to Packer Nation? Relax. Relax.
Okay.
You just have to relax. In A-Rod, I trust, okay?
Yeah. And Russell, I trust. 0-2. 0-2 in the last two matchups. And we all know how those ended.
Yes, we do.
Don't we, Phil?
Yes, we do.
All right.
Yes, we do.
All right. Just remember, I told you so.
There's always chances to turn things around. There's always chance for revenge. I'm looking forward to it.
And by the way,
let me ask you this question since you brought it up. What's the Packers' record against the Cowboys in the last head-to-head competition?
Two meltdowns. That's what I call it. Two meltdowns. By the way, you know who they're picking to go to the Super Bowl? The Patriots and the Packers.
Well,
check it out.
I think you're foolish if you don't. You know.
Okay.
You want to put a little action on that?
Look, we've been through this before. You left me. You left me once. Can you leave me again? Huh? Are you going to leave me again?
Leave you?
Yeah. Don't you remember the NBA championship? Oh yes, Jerome. I think Cleveland will win this series. And then halfway through, hey Jerome, how about them Golden State Warriors?
Listen, I wasn't rooting for Cleveland, but I thought that Cleveland was going to win the series. I never backed away from that. Congratulations to the Warriors for rising above.
So much for loyalty.
I wasn't rooting for Golden State. I mean, I just thought that Cleveland with LeBron was just going to dominate. I mean, I could not foresee if Kyrie Irving doesn't go down.
They still lose.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're dominated like they were after he went down.
They weren't dominated.
They won 2 games after he went down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He went down in game 1 in overtime.
Yeah. But, I mean, a healthy Kyrie Irving gave them another option.
Yeah, but it went small. That's how they got beat. They'd have gone small against him, too.
the Braves Report, we go now with Mike Morgan, brought to you by Played Again Sports off Bower Parkway in Columbia, where you pay less for more. By Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals. And by Mattress by Appointment, real simple. You call and you save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets. Call 803-816-0577. We welcome Mike Morgan into Sports Talk. Braves move up the, well, not really the East Coast, go a little west to Pittsburgh from D.C. Mike, I'm not so sure that they're going to find it any easier there than they did in Washington, where they didn't find it easy at all.
No, they didn't. I would say Washington's a little bit more imposing with their pitching than Pittsburgh is, but Pittsburgh certainly doesn't lack pitching. And they don't lack it tonight either with Liriano on the mound going up against Perez. So Pittsburgh will be a tough order. There's no question about it. Atlanta really right now just trying to find where the offense is, because it certainly was lacking in that national series. They could get nothing going at all offensively. And as we talked about yesterday, without Freddie Freeman, this offense takes on an entirely different identity. They're just not as potent, not nearly as potent. It puts more pressure on other guys to carry the load. And I think sometimes you're asking guys capable of doing that. So we'll see if they can somehow muster up some offense. Again, Perez going to the rubber today, and he's been a pleasant surprise. I mean, if you would have told me that Williams Perez would be 4-0 with a 2.78 at this point in time, my first question would be, Williams who? And my second question would be, really? That good a number? That's pretty impressive. Not what I would have expected. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Liriano, again, is a stingy guy in the mound as well, with an ERA just over 3. So good pitching matchup for a Braves team that has struggled lately on offense.
Perez, as you mentioned, pitched well for the most part, but his last outing against the Pirates, they got to him pretty well. And you remember that game and his issues with the Pirates lineup that day?
They just got the better of them early. So many of these guys, if you can pounce on them early, that's the difference. Some guys, if they don't have very good stuff, you can fool major league hitters the first time through the order, but once you get the second time or the third time through, then all of a sudden they figured you out and you get exposed. In that particular case, Perez got hit early on and it just didn't have it, as they say. I mean, some nights you just don't have your most dominating stuff, and some nights the better team just takes advantage of that, and they were certainly able to do that. Again, it's a Pittsburgh lineup. It's not just McCutchen. I think he's obviously the headliner, but it's Neil Walker, it's Marte. They got other guys right now that can hurt you. That outfield is a very underrated outfield in Major League Baseball.
You know, without Freeman, any experimentation tonight with shuffling the lineup, or they're going with the same lineup they had in Washington?
Yeah, no major changes. Different options. It's not. This is the one guy. Not only in terms of talent, but position wise, they have other guys that can fill in at third when Chris Johnson goes down, or they're pretty deep in the outfield in terms of guys that can spell one another there. But they really didn't have a backup plan for Freddie. He needed one because Freddie's been pretty reliable overall. So they just kind of have to try to have other guys fill in at other positions and be more productive, not necessarily a guy that's actually playing at first base.
What's your take on Ryan Sandberg resigning as the Phillies manager today?
Well, I thought he was put in an impossible situation. First of all, Philadelphia has been a dumpster fire really for the last couple of years, and the front office set that up by signing incredibly long-term lucrative deals to guys that were on the decline, guys like Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, and the recently departed Jimmy Rollins. So no matter what you did, no matter who you put in there as a manager, I think it's the worst combination when you have veteran players that are too highly paid and at the end of their careers, as opposed to having maybe a bunch of young, talented, scrappy guys that are not chock. They're not chock full of great players, but at least they're going to play hard for you and find a way. We've seen teams do that, particularly Pittsburgh a few years ago. Ryan Sandberg may or may not be a good manager, but I thought he was put in a position to fail.
Mike, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Braves and the Pirates at PNC Park. That'll be at 7:05. First pitch tonight. And you heard the pitching matchup, Perez against Liriano. See if the Braves can get things straightened out. But the Pirates have been scuffling a bit as well. They're still 8 games over 500, but they've lost their last 2. And they find themselves 8 games back in their division. Braves are 5 games back in theirs. And we'll be back with recruiting. All right, back on Sports Talk now. Time for a professionally delivered recruiting report. Not saying that you delivered it unprofessionally last night, K-Mac, but I do hear from people when I'm not here to give the recruiting report that it is kind of giving short shrift on the program. It's not giving its full love. I'm going to be gone for a while. You got to give it its full love. If you don't love recruiting, it won't love you back. Remember that, K-Mac. Linebacker Trey Lamar of Roswell, Georgia, holding with the same top 5 he's had for some time: Clemson, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, and Florida State. Last visit was to Auburn for the Big Cat weekend. He called it a great experience. His next visit will be Clemson's July 17th all-in cookout. He's also visited his other favorites. As for any other visits, not sure on that at this point. He talks to Clemson's Brent Venables mostly through Twitter on a pretty regular basis. These are social visits, like the all-in cookout, Big Cat weekend, important to him to learn more about the non-football side of things. So he takes these visits very seriously. At one point, he was going to drag out his decision into his season. He had previously planned to take official visits before a decision, but that may not be necessary now because he says he's willing it down right now, and he doesn't have a specific date or anything, but he feels like he'll get it done before the season starts. Of the top 5 schools, Clemson, Alabama, Auburn are recruiting him the hardest. Defensive back Marlon Character of Atlanta has not had the chance for many campus visits this month due to 7-on-7 games and practices. Wants to visit USC as soon as he can, and that will probably be after the dead period ends the second week in July. He's in regular contact with Gamecock recruiter Lorenzo Ward. However, he did visit Auburn last week, and the Tigers have moved up into a position of prominence with him as well. He said South Carolina stands out as one of his favorites, but I've taken a visit to Auburn. They stand out to me too, but I would say I like them as much as South Carolina right now. but I like both schools a whole lot. And Virginia Tech remains a factor for him as well. But USC is still the leader. He said he likes them a little bit more than Virginia Tech and Auburn. He said, so right now I would say they probably are at number 1. Receiver DeAndre Overton, Greensboro, North Carolina, released a top 5 this afternoon in no order: Clemson, Nebraska, Tennessee, NC State, and North Carolina. USC target receiver Brad Hawkins Jr. plans to commit on his birthday, July 26th. Clemson target defensive end Xavier Kelly of Wichita. He'll release a top 8 on Monday. So you can have that for your recruiting.
Can't wait for that.
On Monday.
8 schools.
Offensive lineman Marcus Tatum of Daytona Beach, Florida, released a top 8. You ready? In no order: USC, Auburn, Arkansas, Alabama, Miami, Florida, Tennessee, and NC State. Place kicker Alex Barber, Cumming, Georgia, offered by Rutgers. He's been talking to Clemson. Dwayne McLemore from the state and GoGamecocks.com updated USC's incoming recruits and academics. And he says that Toure Boyd, Octavius Johnson, and Devontae Covington remain out for USC at this point in terms of qualifying. Top of the hour break, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We're back, hour number 2, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Open Mind Friday, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Don't forget the website is sportstalksc.com. By the way, Jerome, I know you're listening. Yes, I know that the Seahawks have beaten the Packers 3 in a row. But before that, we beat the Seahawks 3 in a row.
No, we're talking about this Seahawks team, though.
We beat the Seahawks 3 in a row. And I don't count the 2012 loss as a loss because we got screwed by subpar officiating. Okay, that was the game where
you lost because you should have scored more points.
Got beat 14-12. Should have won that game. I'll give you the one last year in September. We got manhandled. I will not give you. We should have won 2 of the last 3.
No,
2 of the last 3 were ours.
You should have lost that game because you twittered around chances to pile up points on Seattle, and you blew it. And then when they threw that Hail Mary and caught it, that just came back to haunt you.
We will unleash our full fury on the Seahawks this year on a Sunday night. What do you think? You agree? Are we together? Are we boys on this? Are we together?
No,
Are we boys to men? Boys. You ever been to a Boys to Men concert, K-Mac?
I have not. I think didn't they play at the State Fair a couple years ago?
If Boys to Men were up on the screen,
that's not one of the 4 concerts. You should go and.
I'm appreciative of that. I've been to 5. The Trans-Siberian Orchestra was a concert with a great light show. It was a Christmas show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had no business going, but I did, and I was thoroughly entertained. I recommend it strongly for the kids next time it rolls around.
Would you?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, yeah. I'll put that on the list.
Yeah.
You ever seen Sting in concert?
Great. I've only been to 5. You know the 5 I've been to.
Well,
never seen Sting.
Yeah. Sting is one
I'd love to see Sting.
Put him on your bucket list.
The update on practice, and we'll talk to Monty Dutton coming up shortly. They've had a round of practice at Sonoma, and Clint Boyer at 95.547, your fastest in practice. AJ Allmendinger, 95.3. Danica Patrick, pretty good run for her, 4th fastest, 95.012. I really didn't think I would, but I really enjoy the road races, the road circuit races, because you're almost always guaranteed a close finish because they run, they're usually, occasionally somebody will sprint ahead late, but there's usually a late wreck, gets everybody bunched up, and it makes for a really good finish, and a lot of banging and bumping going on through those turns, and guys trying to get underneath each other and get the position and push. You have to kind of push the guy away.
I like looking at those races because it reminds me when I'm on I-285 in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about road racing with the full Monty coming up later. Back in a moment. All right, back on Sports Talk. A couple more quick notes, and we'll jump back to your phone calls. Just talking with the coach of USC basketball recruit Eric Cobb, and he tells us that Cobb has received qualifying test score, so that's good to go. He just needs one of his high school classes from Florida. He was in high school in Florida before going to the prep school in Baltimore. Needs one class certified by the NCAA so that he can enroll at USC on July 8th. They do not expect any issue with that. So that's good news for South Carolina. 6'10", Eric Cobb, everything moving forward for him to be able to enroll in school. Trayvon Bunch, who committed to South Carolina, 6'11", never signed with South Carolina. He, too, was waiting on a test score to come in. I've not been able to reach his coach to verify one way or the other, but I don't think South Carolina was expecting him to make it, and that's why they went ahead and released their list of signees and did not include him. I think if they were expecting him to make it, they would have held off until he got his score and got him signed.
Well, there's no room at the end right now anyway.
Well, this is true. But, you know, they always find a way to make room. Second round of the Travelers Championship, and Bubba Watson, 67, puts him at 11 under par after a 62 yesterday. 2 shots ahead of Brian Harmon and Brian Stewart. And Carl Pedersen is also at 9 under par, so a 3-way tie for second. Scott Brown from Aiken, a 67 today. He's at 8 under par, so he's very much in the hunt. And checking some of the others that we like to follow, Bill McGirt, a 69. He's at 4 under. Jonathan Bird, a 72. He is at 1 under par. Lucas Glover, a 73. He's even. And Ernie Els is 2 over. Ricky Barnes is 5 over. And the cut is going to fall at -2. So we see that McGirt's going to make it. Brown's going to make it. Bird's going to make it. No, he's not. -2. Bird is not going to make it. That's got to stink. You shoot 1 under par for 2 rounds, you don't make the cut. But that's what happens when you get to these courses where you can pretty much score at will. All right, back to the phones we go on this Friday night. And we go to Billy from Florence, who is in Surfside, listening to us, I presume, on 100.3 FM, WSEA. Welcome in, Billy. How are you?
Absolutely. I had to get out of that hot PD and come down to the beach house.
Good for you.
Parents beach house.
Yeah.
They don't come. But, hey, just came off the beach, tossing the leather around with the sun, Phil. And that wind feels good, in which there's none in the PD, man. Good gracious, it's hot.
Yeah.
But, Phil, I got a couple quick questions for you. I'm going to make a comment. You know, it's in reference to the Tigers. There's been a lot of things going on in the upstate. And it definitely, I actually think the Lake Up, I actually stress a little bit more about Lake Up, you know, because that's kind of a mental deal versus physical. And, I mean, you got Alex Spence from West Florence that if Lake Up is dismissed from the team, Spence hopefully can step in there. But Lake Up, and last year was 21-28, and he was pretty hot down the stretch. I mean, you know, and so forth. But and I know Mitch Hyatt, which is highly touted, is going to replace Battle, and Battle was actually cited, from my understanding, several times. And as somebody put it, it used all his money in the bank, and I think every one of them was pretty much marijuana. You know, being cited for marijuana. Mm-hmm. I hope Battle it's worked out. It seems like, you know, if you're a pothead, I hope it works out for him, because Battle was a really great physical talent, and he's had his troubles. He's blown up a couple of times in practice. He actually punched a North Carolina State player, and actually had some stuff in practice going on with the coaches. And I just hope it works out for Battle. And my question to you, Phil, do you think that I've heard J.J. McCullough's, and late news always breaks about 2 weeks late up in the upstate. I like the way Dabo dictates the news. I know they catch a lot of grief from the fans, but he controls a lot of it. Is J.J. McCullough, which is about third or fourth on the depth chart. Have you heard anything about that? And secondly, do you think that Mitch Hyatt will protect Deshaun first 2 games with Wofford and Appalachian? And if it's Joe Gore or Hyatt, do you see concerns there? And I'm going to hang up, Phil, and I'm going to listen to you, buddy.
All right, man. Thank you very much. And enjoy your time there in Surfside, Lucky Dog. As far as J.J. McCullough is concerned, I'm hearing rumblings, as we'd heard previously, about Battle, that something could be up with him as well. He's been in the proverbial doghouse, in and out of it for a while now. He just, remember, was reinstated to active duty with the team back in the spring. And I don't know if something else has happened with him or not. Like you said, Billy, they've done a pretty good job of keeping this stuff quiet until somebody digs it up. Haven't seen anything from a legal standpoint is out there on McCullough, so I don't know if it's just behavior, lack of effort, lack of being all in, so to speak, that has gotten him into the situation he is in. That is a position, however, that Clemson can withstand a loss, because you've got Stanton Seconder, you've got Jordan Leggett, you've got the freshman Mylan Richard, you got Cannon Smith. They've got, they're pretty deep at tight end, and you got 2 good ones in Leggett and Seconder. So I think they'll survive that. Hyatt at left tackle, boy, I tell you what, there's very, very, and you could probably count on one hand, guys, in the SEC and the ACC, how many true freshmen, in particular at the most important position, left tackle, do a good job under that kind of pressure.
So hard to play offensive line and to learn all the calls. That as a true freshman defensive end, you can chase the ball around and make some plays. True freshman wide receiver, go out there, we'll find some things that you're comfortable with. Running backs, but offensive line and quarterback, very difficult to go in and step right away.
That's why I think they're going to take a guy who, even if they have to take a guy from the other side of the line, they're going to take a seasoned guy and move him to left tackle. I just think you can't.
They don't have a seasoned guy. They got Joe Gore over there at right tackle, okay, and backing him up. Really, you're going to have the true freshman backing up at both spots. Hyatt moving in and starting at the left tackle spot, and then you'd have Jake Frew Morgan backing up at both tackle spots. They don't have a veteran. Now, they can try and move some things around. Getting Jay Guillermo back would help.
That's what I'm saying. He
doesn't play tackle. He's a center guard.
He'll play tackle the first couple to break him in.
I don't know. Can you do that? I mean, they're different skills or different body styles. I don't know that you can do that. I mean, all their backups on their offensive line are freshmen. I mean, you look at it across the board. Mitch Hyatt, Taylor Hearn, Noah Green, Falcinelli's a redshirt freshman. Giella is a redshirt freshman. Guillermo comes back. He gives you a little bit of a veteran play there. Maverick Morris hasn't played very much. They're very inexperienced. Now, they love the talent these young guys have. But all of a sudden, it's a little bit more concerning, I think, on the Clemson offense because of the loss battle and the repercussions down the line of trying to replace him.
You ever had any fun horsing around with your dad when you're about 14 or 15, and you say, "Okay, fine, okay," and you grab him, and then finally you figure out that he's got a little bit more strength than you got. That's what happens to these linemen. They hit, wait a minute, hold it. These are grown men I'm banging against.
Hold speed, too. Be right back. Scheduling note here for you. We'll give you permission to continue to listen to us, but look at your television. Well, you may have to turn up your TV volume just a little bit. Clemson pitcher Clayton Schmidt scheduled to be on ESPN2 at 7:45 tonight to talk about his fight against cancer. So that's coming up tonight in about 20 minutes on ESPN2 if you want to take a look and a listen, as I think everybody in our state, regardless of your backing, would be interested in this young man's battle against cancer. And so far, so good. The reports have been pretty positive that he's handled the treatments well, has been throwing the baseball and going about his thing. So good luck to him, and he'll give an update 7:45 tonight on ESPN2. The full Monty on NASCAR coming up. Got the road course race coming up at Sonoma this weekend. We'll talk with Monty Dutton about that. Back to your phone calls we go on this Open Mind Friday. And it's Jim in Lexington. I'm sure was listening to us on the point at 95.9 before the top of the hour. Eventually, we'll have both of our hours on the point sooner than you might expect. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, Jim, Lexington, welcome into the program.
Thank you, Phil. How you doing tonight?
Man, we're terrific. Good to have you with us.
You too. Hey, since it's Open Mind Friday, and you brought it up at the top of the show, I like to talk about the concert last night for a minute.
Yeah, were you there?
Yeah, it was. What a phenomenal show. I saw him about 23 years ago in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome. There were probably about 60,000 at that concert, and that's when Linda was still alive, and great show then too. I mean, the guy just put on a phenomenal show. Mm-hmm. But the thing about Paul McCartney, that I've been a Beatles fan all my life, like you have, and what blew me away last night was this: is that here's a 73-year-old guy, and you got to. Here we are in late June, and the temperature outside has been around 100 degrees for 2 weeks now at least. And so the temperature just beating down on that arena, for all this time. And I don't know about you last night, but just 25,000 people in that arena with the energy going on in there, with the pyrotechnics and the light show. It was not really the temperature was not cool at all. It was comfortable, but not cool, not cold. I cannot imagine what the temperature is. It would have been on stage. And here's a 73-year-old guy. I was just amazed at how great shape he was in, because he played 35 or 40 songs maybe,
At
and
least.
without a break.
Yeah.
Without a break. And did you ever see him take a sip of water? I never did.
No, you're exactly right. He might have grabbed something when he went off stage before he came back for a couple of final songs. Shut up, Steak Man. But, for a guy who's, he said 73, I thought he was 71. Maybe you're right.
He is 73.
He looks great. He's had that face tightened up a little bit, and I can't believe that's the original hair.
But those guys, when they get in that, they're in their inner sanctum then. I mean, he's
the thing that struck me about him, and I wasn't anywhere near the stage, but he just looked so genuinely interested in performing for the people who were in that arena and just gave it everything he had, and I appreciated that. Back in a moment. Full Monty on NASCAR in just a moment. You know, this is bound to happen more and more regularly. We have a Twitter war breaking out between a football player and his former school, Georgia Tech linebacker Anthony Harrell. Now, Georgia Tech's official Twitter site, Georgia Tech Football, also at Georgia Tech FB. It's the official Twitter site for Georgia Tech Football. Official Twitter account of Georgia Tech Football. It only has 9,300 followers. Now, that's kind of strange. But anyway, they tweeted out a couple hours ago that linebacker Anthony Harrell has been suspended indefinitely. He responded on Twitter at his Twitter site, which is Jake from State Farm. That's the title of it. And then his name is at Harrow51 underlying GT. And he wrote back to at Georgia Tech Football, "Yeah, that's a lie. Get your facts right. I've chosen to leave and play my 5th year elsewhere." Then he has a little proclamation underneath that, thanking the coach and staff and all that sort of stuff. But he's moving on. I think he might be headed to Florida to play his 5th year. So anyway, little Twitter battle between a player and his former school.
1 year, and he's got his degree.
Yeah, it's one of those
Okay.
4th year guys with a year of eligibility who's got his degree and can go somewhere else. So I'm glad we don't have that kind of stuff happening in NASCAR as we welcome in Monty Dutton for the full Monty on NASCAR tonight as we're on the West Coast once again for a few laps around Sonoma, the road course, first road course race of the campaign. Monty, how are you tonight?
I'm great. It's been a long day, but I'm doing fine.
Absolutely. Hot day, long day. They're probably happy they're out there on the West Coast up near San Francisco. I imagine it's a good bit cooler for them there than it would be if they were on the East Coast.
Yeah, if they only had water. No.
Today in practice, Clint Boyer, 95.5, A.J. Allmendinger, 95.3, Danica Patrick, 95.012. This is always a race on these road courses, especially at Sonoma, Monty, where you can get some unexpected winners here, people who are particularly talented on the road courses and things of that nature. And of course, the racing is very tight, especially in the final laps.
Well, I think that it does. It's sort of interesting because when I started covering NASCAR in the 90s, the road courses, and people didn't like road courses near as much as they do now. And one of the reasons probably is that for the longest time, just a handful of people won. Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon, were just the dominant road course drivers for quite a long time. And I think that strategy has changed. And I also think that sort of like the short tracks, road courses are places where maybe it's a little more driver than car, or at least if you can really, they've been, Marcos Ambrose's only 2 wins were at Watkins Glen. Mm-hmm. Last year, Carl Edwards won at Sonoma. And it's kind of funny that Carl Edwards, he's like the most overlooked person that ever won 2 races because he had a horrible year last year, but he won 2 races. But it was unusual for him to win there. And then at Watkins Glen last year, Allmendinger won. So it's turned completely around. And I think just the fact that a lot of people have found the racing pretty sort of moribund at intermediate tracks, that a lot of people are calling for more road races nowadays. But I mean, I think there's some excitement because I honestly think that the number of people who could possibly win increases, and it makes it a little bit more exciting for the fans watching on TV.
Yeah, I always love the final laps of these events, especially after there's been a caution somewhere on the track. You can get them tightened back up, and they go into that first turn after retaking the green flag, and it's 2x2, and it's a lot of banging and bumping going on when they hit that first corner.
Well, the race cars in NASCAR are not really they're very sophisticated, but they're not sophisticated for road racing. And so I think that it sort of gives it a little bit, the cars sort of squirt around and slide all over the place and bump into each other. And it sort of gives it a little bit of a, bumper cars at the fair look. And, and everybody tightens up and people really get desperate. There's a lot of cases where, look, you're in my way, either if you don't give me a lane, you're going to go, you're not holding me up anymore. And so there've been a lot of pretty controversial incidents over the years. As a matter of fact, Sonoma was the only place in any time that a guy took the checkered flag and didn't win, because this happened a long time ago now. But they had I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to think. It seems like to me it was maybe Davey Allison and Ernie Irvin, or maybe it was Richie Rudd. One of those two. They one guy turned the other guy around in the last turn, and he was black flagged, and the victory given to the other driver. And that's something that it is popular to say now that NASCAR never overturns an outcome, but I guess they didn't technically, because they black flagged the guy who would have taken the checkered flag.
All right, today out in Sonoma, of course, drivers talking to the media. Dale Jr., he called the Confederate flag, quote, offensive to an entire race, voicing his support. A race, offensive to an entire race, not a race with cars, but a race with people.
It would work in that regard.
It really would. I had to look at it twice. Yeah, it works both ways. Anyway, he was voicing his support for removing the flag from the grounds here in Columbia. He went on to say, quote, I've made my comments about the Confederate flag several times, and I stand behind NASCAR's stance to remove it. I think if it's offensive to an entire race, it really does nothing for anybody to be there flying. It belongs in the history books. That's about it. So let me ask you, you've been around all the tracks, and the Confederate flag, especially if you're in the infield in southern tracks, you see the flag flying in a lot of different places in the infield. Are people going to tuck them away and not fly those things at Darlington and Charlotte and Atlanta and Homestead, et cetera?
It'll be interesting with what happens between now and Labor Day, because I think it's entirely possible there'll be something of backlash. But what NASCAR has said is they will not allow Confederate flag themed items to be sold on their property. I don't believe that they've sold any for a long time, but I mean, stands that people set up around the track.
Sure.
So that's not really as decisive as it seems if NASCAR banned the flying of that. Now, I have to tell you, this week, by the way, if anybody wants to know my feeling, I wrote a blog on the subject of the Confederate flag this week. So it's on my website. Because I don't want to go into all that, because we're talking racing, not politics. But I mean, I'm completely, the reason that I don't like the Confederate flag is because it wasn't ever put up until the civil rights era. But forget all that, forget the politics.
Sure.
I think that, I sort of had a problem, because I think that you ought to be consistent in the way you feel about things. And I think that people should have the right of expression if they want to do it, just as they bear the consequences for the people that they alienate by doing it. But I think that the number of rebel flags at racetracks has been on the decline. But I mean, like, for instance, oddly enough, the Confederate flag is often seen as sort of a symbol of just pure anti-establishmentism. Like, for instance, there used to be a lot of rebel flags in Dover, Delaware, and you'd see some in Michigan. But it's been on the decline. I would say that I would say that Darlington and Talladega are definitely the places where you see them the most. And also, if they actually ban their display, I would sort of like to wander around in the infield and try to see them take those things away.
Exactly. That's going to be, in fact, we'll have to ask Chip I meant to ask Chip on Tuesday night, what happens if somebody unfurls a Confederate flag and flies it on top of their RV inside the infield? Are they going to have security go in there and snatch
because
it down?
they haven't done that in the past.
No, but everybody now, it's like it's so taboo to have a flag flying anywhere in your property.
And I'd be surprised if they're going out there snatching up flags.
You'll have to ask him that on Tuesday. Yeah. Thank you, Monty. The full Monty on NASCAR. You can get more of Monty's great thoughts, agree or disagree, at your pleasure, at his website, Monty, MONTE, MontyDutton.com. Full Monty on NASCAR. All right, the Braves have a 1-0 lead on Pittsburgh as they're playing up in Pittsburgh, top of the third inning there. And it's Open Mind Friday. A few more minutes to go if you'd like to join us. Love to hear from you. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @sportstalksc. I want to catch up on a couple of items here. Former Clemson star Trevor Booker, of course, with the Utah Jazz, and he's giving back to the community. He is contributing to what's called the Design and Entrepreneurship Network, also known as the DEN. Some of the money earmarked for emerging scholars at Clemson, program that helps high school students from economically disadvantaged areas of South Carolina get into college. He recently spoke to the group, and he is putting the money behind his words. He's contributing $15,000 to create the Trevor Booker annual fellowship to support a graduate student leader working with the DEN. $5,000 to start an innovation fund to help students in the DEN build prototypes of their technologies. $10,000 for emerging scholars. So that's 15, 20, it's $30,000 that he is contributing. So good for him. Trevor Booker, who did it right when he was at Clemson, and he's doing right by Clemson by giving back to his university.
But it'd be good if he's still a solid player, but boy, if he was just give him 2 or 3 more inches, but he is still a solid player in the NBA. He's a keeper.
For you Tiger fans in the upstate, wondering about where you're going to hear the Tigers on the radio in coming seasons, Learfield Sports, which is part of our parent company, Learfield, and Intercom Communications announced today through their Operation Tiger Sports Properties, they've agreed to a 2-year extension to a deal that has the Clemson football broadcasts on WTPT. It's the Planet. That's the moniker for the radio station. It's actually licensed out of Forest City, North Carolina, but it covers, I think, the entire upstate, the Planet. So that's where football will be in the foreseeable future. And Clemson men's basketball and baseball will be on ESPN Upstate, WYRD AM, WORD AM in Spartanburg. That should give them good coverage. 93.3 is the Planet and ESPN Upstate. I think that's new, the relationship with ESPN Upstate for basketball and baseball, I think. Could be wrong about that. But anyway, that's some news for you listeners in the Upstate for a future Clemson sports broadcast. By the way, speaking of Learfield, our great company, the Learfield Cup, the Learfield Sports Directors Cup, final standings are out now that the baseball season is over. And once again, I don't know how many times they've won it. Stanford
every year
finished number one
because they play every sport.
Yeah, they have
in the
about
planet.
10 billion sports.
That's
there.
right. Yeah, they do. They score a lot of points because they play a lot of different sports. Water polo, for example, they won that, so they got 100 points for water polo. Let's see. They scored. What else did they win? I guess water polo was their. They got a women's golf. They won the national championship there. Got 100 points there. UCLA was second. Southern Cal was third. Florida was fourth. North Carolina fifth. Virginia finished sixth, thanks to that baseball championship. Ohio State 7, Penn State 8, Texas 9, and Notre Dame 10. But corn, what about the in-state schools? South Carolina wins the in-state ranking at number 46. Okay? This is for all sports. Clemson finished 57th in the standings. Coastal Carolina came home 83rd this year. Furman, 130th. And as we continue down the list, the College of Charleston, 192nd. Oof. Winthrop, 213th. Charleston Southern, you ask? 248th.
Oh, okay.
And that's it. Charleston Southern is the last one in the state. Did I say South Carolina State? I had them on my list. I mentioned them, didn't I? South Carolina State was I highlighted them a minute ago. I got to go back and find them. Hang on a second. Oh, there they are. I missed two of them. South Carolina State was 253rd. Oh, tied with USC Upstate for 253rd. Oh, the Citadel was 284th. The Citadel comes in last at 284. Well, in the words of the great Paul McCartney, I've been working 8 days a week. I'm about to take the long and winding road to get some help. That help is vacation. Be leaving you in the capable hands of K-Mac and the pro and the state man. I'm assuming the two of you will be here while I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
mean,
so.
the good Lord willing, yes.
And the creek don't rise.
Yeah.
I'm day to day, just like everybody else.
I hope you have a nice couple of calm weeks. I think now, hopefully, we've hit the true summer doldrums. It has not been slow up until right about now. We've had a lot of stuff going on. I guess Monday night you'll probably talk to Monty Lee because he'll have his pitching coach official. You may even get Andrew C. on, or maybe Monty Lee, one of them, to talk about it.
We'll catch up with Frank Martin Monday. We hope to catch up with Don Staley Monday.
What else you got planned? What else you got planned the next 2 weeks, K-Mac?
That's Monday. Well, we're taking a day at a time here.
You can't cram all of
we're
that
coaching.
into Monday.
We're doing one show at a time. Just happy to be here, just going one show at a time.
Yeah.
Wing it.
So I'll be gone actually from the studio for 3 weeks because after 2 weeks away for a little R&R, going to get the body hardened and tanned a little bit. Then it's off to SEC Media Days. Can you believe that? SEC Media Days is back again for another year. That craziness. And we'll be there for that. That'll be a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday. USC shows up on Tuesday morning. And then K-Mac's going to hit the weekend after that, Sunday, and then into Monday and Tuesday, ACC Media Days. And they've extended that this year. They've changed the format up for that. They used to do players on Sunday. But what they've done now is take Sunday and turn it into a play day for the media, you're going to get to play Pinehurst number 5 as part of the Skeeter Francis Memorial Golf Tournament, if you choose to play.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to do
and
the
they're
golf
changing it
this
up
year.
for the northern schools that don't have the sun as much. So they said, why don't we have golf on Sunday?
Is that what it is?
No, I'm just surmising. That's Syracuse and Boston College and other schools say, why don't we have some golf?
And so Monday will be all player interviews, and then Tuesday will be coaches interviews. And K-Mac, you'll have a chance to sit down with Bobby Petrino and ask him about his Twitter habits.
I requested him. We will ask him why he blocked us.
Ask him what kind of hog you ride.
Yeah.
That'll be the last question we ask him.
That will be the last
We'll make sure we ask him
before he says
football-related questions first.
This interview is over.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody have yourselves a great weekend. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks from Hoover. K-Mac and the Pro will be with you all the way through with the State Man. And I look forward to being back with you from Hoover, Alabama, and SEC Media Days later on in July. So thank you, guys. Thank you, State Man. Have a great weekend, everybody. And be back with us on Sports Talk Monday night.